Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for joining me. Today, I'm bringing you one of the most emotional, unforgettable, and downright magical moments ever seen on a talent show stage. It's the story of a Filipino singer whose voice didn't just fill the room, it stopped time. Even Simon Cowell, the man known for being almost impossible to impress, sat there in disbelief. This is the moment that made millions cry, a performance so powerful that it reminded the world what pure talent and heart really sound like. It started like any other audition day on America's Got Talent. The stage lights glowed, the audience murmured in anticipation, and the judges settled in, ready for another lineup of hopefuls chasing the dreams. Some came nervous, some confident, some with wild acts, but no one that day expected a simple man from the Philippines to rewrite the atmosphere of the entire show. The man's name was Mark, a humble Filipino with a smile that carried both excitement and nerves. He walked onto the stage quietly, holding his microphone with both hands. There was something different about him, not flashy, not loud, just sincere. The kind of presence that made people lean in, curious to see what was about to happen. Simon looked at him, pen in hand, as usual. "What's your name, and where are you from?" he asked. Mark took a breath and answered softly, "My name's Mark. I'm from the Philippines." Immediately, there was a ripple of applause from the audience, some cheering in recognition, others smiling because there's something universally heartwarming about hearing someone proudly represent their country. Mark nodded shyly, his eyes glancing toward the massive screen behind the judges that read America's Got Talent. It was a surreal moment, oceans away from home, standing before one of the toughest panels in the world. Simon smiled politely, "And what are you going to be doing for us today?" Mark's answer was simple, "I'll be singing an Elvis Presley song." Now, the second he said Elvis Presley, you could almost feel a shift. Elvis songs are no joke, everyone knows them, everyone loves them, and everyone compares. If you're going to sing Elvis, you have to deliver. You have to have soul, control, and that timeless power that made the king unforgettable. Simon raised an eyebrow. The other judges exchanged glances. The audience murmured, and Mark, standing there under the hot stage lights, closed his eyes. The first note came out, deep, rich, trembling with emotion, and instantly, the entire theater went quiet. You could hear the echo of his voice bounce through the room. It wasn't just good, it was haunting. He sang Can't Help Falling in Love, and in that moment, his voice didn't sound like an imitation, it sounded like his own story. Every word, every note carried weight, like he had lived through every lyric. Simon leaned forward in his chair. His eyebrows lifted slightly, that subtle sign he gives when something catches him off guard. Heidi turned to Sophia with her hand on her chest, mouthing the words, "Oh my God." And the audience. They were frozen. A few phones came up to record, but no one was whispering, no one was distracted. It was like the entire place had collectively taken a breath and forgot to exhale. Mark's voice carried a warmth, that old school tone mixed with modern soul. There was an ache in it, a longing, the kind of sound that only comes from someone who's known what it feels like to dream big from humble beginnings. Every line built deeper emotion. He wasn't performing, he was feeling. As he reached the chorus, his voice soared higher, and Simon, yes, Simon Cowell, actually smiled. Not his polite, "Okay, you're good" smile, but that genuine, "I can't believe what I'm hearing" kind of grin. His hand went to his chin, eyes locked on Mark like he was seeing something rare. When the final note rang out, Mark held it just a second longer than expected, perfectly steady, perfectly pure. And then silence. No background music, no sound effects. Just pure silence. For a heartbeat, nobody moved. Then the entire audience exploded. The cheers were deafening. People stood up, waving their arms, shouting, clapping, crying. Heidi stood up first, giving a standing ovation, followed by Sophia, and then Simon himself, the man who almost never stands during an audition. Mark lowered his microphone, his eyes glistening with tears. He couldn't believe what was happening. He put his hand over his heart and whispered, "Thank you." Simon leaned into the mic. "Wow," he said, pausing, still smiling. "That was unbelievable. You know, I've heard a lot of people try to sing Elvis, but I've never heard anyone make it sound this personal. It wasn't just a song, it was like you lived it. Absolutely beautiful. Howie added, it's so rare to hear someone sing with that much heart and control at the same time. You didn't just sing the song, you told it. Sophia said, you made me cry. That voice is magic. And Heidi, she simply said, that was perfection. Mark stood there trembling, overwhelmed, tears spilling freely now. The audience began chanting, golden buzzer. Golden buzzer. The judges looked at each other. You could see the debate happening silently. And then, in one of those moments that defines the show, Simon turned to the others, smiled, and pressed the golden button. The entire theater went wild. Golden confetti rained down as Mark dropped to his knees, hands over his face, completely in shock. The music swelled, the crowd screamed, and Simon got up from his chair to walk on stage, shaking Mark's hand. You deserve this, Simon said softly. The world needs to hear your voice. And that's when you realize, this wasn't just another audition. This was something deeper. This was a Filipino man standing on one of the biggest stages in the world, showing that true talent doesn't know borders, accents, or backgrounds. It's universal. It's human. As Mark walked off stage, the cameras followed him backstage where his family was waiting, his mother crying, his little sister jumping up and down, and his father, holding back tears but smiling proudly. Mark hugged them all, the golden confetti still clinging to his jacket. We did it, he whispered. We really did it. The clip went viral overnight. Within 24 hours, millions of people across the world were sharing the video, writing comments like, this made me cry, the best Elvis cover I've ever heard, and, Filipino talent never disappoints. Even celebrities reposted it, calling it one of the most emotional AGT moments of all time. But behind that viral fame was a story. Mark wasn't just another singer. Back home in the Philippines, he grew up in a small town. His family didn't have much. His father worked long hours, his mother sold food at the market, and Mark used to sing at local events just to help pay bills. Sometimes, he sang in small cafes, sometimes in the streets, always dreaming that one day, someone big would hear him. When he got the chance to audition for America's Got Talent, it wasn't just an opportunity, it was a miracle. His friends helped him raise money for the flight. He promised them, I'll do my best. For all of us. And he did. Even Simon mentioned later in an interview, that performance reminded me why I love this show. Because sometimes, someone walks in who reminds you what music is really about, emotion, truth, connection. That guy from the Philippines, he had all of that. In the weeks that followed, Mark's life changed completely. He returned to AGT for the live shows, performing more Elvis classics but always in his own soulful way. Each time he sang, the audience grew louder, the judges more impressed. He wasn't just known as the Filipino Elvis guy anymore, he was Mark, the man with a golden heart and a voice that could heal. There was one performance during the semi-finals where he sang Suspicious Minds, but he slowed it down, turned it into a heartfelt ballad. The crowd was speechless again. Even Simon said, you've taken a song everyone knows and made it brand new. That's real artistry. By the time the finals came, Mark had become a fan favorite. People from around the world were rooting for him, from the Philippines to the US, from Europe to Australia. Social media was flooded with support. Fans made edits, reaction videos, and even Filipino celebrities sent messages cheering him on. It wasn't just about the show anymore. It was about representation, pride, and inspiration. In the finale, Mark chose a medley, Can't Help Falling in Love mixed with If I Can Dream. The lights dimmed, the stage filled with gentle smoke, and Mark stood center stage, dressed in a classic white suit, paying tribute to the king of rock and roll but also showing the world who he was. His version was powerful yet pure. You could feel his gratitude in every lyric. When he finished, there was no doubt. Another standing ovation. Simon stood again, clapping slowly, that same proud smile on his face. You've come so far, he said. You've honored Elvis, but you've also honored yourself, your family, and your country. No matter what happens tonight, you've already won. And indeed, he had. He didn't just win votes, he won hearts. The comments section after that night was flooded with love. I'm not even Filipino, but I'm crying right now. This is what music should be. Pure emotion. Even Elvis would be proud. After the show ended, Mark's story became a symbol of hope for dreamers everywhere. He returned home to a hero's welcome. Fans gathered at the airport holding banners, reporters surrounded him, and children sang his songs in the streets. He performed on local TV, sharing his journey, saying over and over again, if you believe in your dream, never stop. Because dreams really do come true. Even months later, his audition video continued to spread, hitting hundreds of millions of views. People who didn't even follow AGT watched it just to feel something real. It became one of those timeless performances that live forever online, the kind that gets rediscovered years later and still gives you chills. And here's the thing, Mark's story isn't just about singing. It's about courage. It's about stepping out in faith, no matter where you come from, no matter how small your beginnings are. It's about believing that your voice, literal or metaphorical, matters. That's what Simon saw that day. That's what everyone felt. Because when a Filipino man walked onto that American stage, he didn't just represent himself, he represented every dreamer who's ever been told, you can't. And he proved that you can. His performance will forever be remembered as one of those moments that remind the world why we fall in love with music in the first place, not because of fame or perfection, but because it makes us feel. And that night, when Mark sang those timeless Elvis words, take my hand, take my whole life too, for I can't help falling in love with you, it felt like he wasn't just singing to the crowd, but to every soul watching from home. So if you're watching this video right now, take this as your sign. Maybe you've been scared to chase your dream. Maybe you think your voice isn't enough, or your story isn't special. But, remember Mark. Remember how a man from a small town in the Philippines took a chance, walked onto one of the biggest stages in the world, and changed his life forever, not because he was lucky, but because he dared to believe. Dreams don't happen overnight. They take work, faith, and heart. But when the moment comes, when the lights hit you, and it's your turn, give it everything you've got. Because you never know who might be watching, who might need to hear your voice, or how your story could inspire someone else. That's what makes this moment so powerful. It's more than a performance, it's a reminder that greatness can come from anywhere. And sometimes, all it takes is one song to change everything. If this story moved you even a little, don't forget to share it with someone who needs a bit of hope today. And if you love watching inspiring moments like this, you're in the right place. Subscribe, stay tuned, and join me next time as we share more incredible stories of real people doing extraordinary things. Until then, remember, no dream is too big, no voice is too small. Keep believing, keep singing, and keep shining, because your moment might be just around the corner.